The flat white hits her white collar before the apology hits the floor. Grace Holloway, 28, Black American, barista at Aurelia Coffee Bar, in the marble lobby of Sinclair Tower, NYU Finance Senior at night. $4,830 tuition due Friday. $3,110 in checking. A chocolate brown apron tied clean behind her back at 5:47 in the morning. She has memorized 47 daily executive orders, cup by cup, face by face. One face she never forgets. 7:12 a.m., black Americano, long graphite gray overcoat, hands in the pockets. A black Korean dragon tattooed down the left side of his neck, scales disappearing under a white collar. His name is Seo Do-jin, chairman of Sinclair Tower Holdings on the lobby roster. Underboss of the Gyeum Gwangpa to anyone who has whispered the name in the right rooms. 9:23 a.m. Madison Sinclair, champagne gold silk dress, Birkin under the arm, leans across the counter and tips an entire flat white down the front of Grace's shirt. Slow, deliberate, looks like you spilled the purpose of your life. The lobby holds its breath. Heels click across marble. Seo Do-jin crosses the cream calicotta floor without a word. He lifts the 1.2-liter glass carafe off the warmer. He pours the entire pot, steaming, down the front of Madison's champagne gold dress. Now you're as dirty as your character. Leave my building. Then he turns. He looks at Grace. He says one sentence she will not understand until much later. Before starting the story, comment down below where you are watching from and what time it is there. If stories of karma, love, and hidden truths move you, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a member and help our channel. The cold hits her knuckles first. Grace Holloway pushes the service door open at 5:47 in the morning, and the December air in the marble lobby of Sinclair Tower bites the small bones of her hands. She does not flinch. She has been told, exactly 9 times, by exactly 3 different managers, that baristas who flinch get reassigned to the basement commissary. The basement commissary pays $11 an hour. The lobby station of Aurelia Coffee Bar pays $16, plus the kind of tips that occasionally come folded inside a $100 bill from a man who never says thank you. She needs the 16. She needs the hundreds more. The folded tuition bill is in the inside pocket of her wool coat, pressed flat against her ribs like a second sternum. $4,830. Due Friday. 3 days from now, she has $3,110 in checking. She has a final exam in advanced corporate restructuring on Thursday night, and a paper on hostile tender offers due Wednesday at midnight. And somewhere in the bottom drawer of her studio apartment on West 145th, a brown envelope from the bursar that says, in red ink, final notice. She does not think about the envelope. She thinks about the apron. The apron is the only thing that matters at 5:47 in the morning. Long, chocolate brown, heavy canvas, wax treated, the kind that takes an espresso pull dead center and shrugs it off. She lifts it off the hook in the staff cubby behind the host station, slips the loop over her silk-pressed hair, and ties the waist in 2 clean motions behind her back. Bow tucked under, ends even. Mr. Ward checks. Mr. Ward always checks. Her white shirt is crisp. She irons it every night, standing barefoot on the linoleum of her kitchenette, watching the steam rise while her textbook lies open on the counter. The sleeves are already rolled to the elbow because in 2 minutes, Mr. Ward will tell her to roll them to the elbow, and she has learned to save him the breath. Black trousers, straight cut, hemmed by her own hand. Black non-slip shoes, polished Sunday. The thin gold chain her mother gave her on her 16th birthday is tucked behind the white collar where the cameras cannot see it, where Madison Sinclair cannot see it, where the world cannot reach in and put a price on the one thing that is hers. She steps out from behind the host station, and the lobby opens before her, a cathedral of cream Calacatta marble, polished to a mirror finish. Ribbed bronze elevators set into the far wall like the doors of a vault. Sinclair Tower, 47 floors. Headquarters of Sinclair Tower Holdings, real estate empire, $2 billion in assets, 1,200 employees, one revolving glass entrance through which, between 6:58 and 9:45 every weekday morning, walks Grace Holloway's entire memorized economy. She begins her preparation by muscle memory. The grinder is purged of last night's beans, refilled with the 823 Ethiopia Yirgachev. Mr. Ward swears costs them an extra $1 per kilo, but earns $4 in tips. The La Marzocco is wiped down, the steam wand purged in 3 short bursts, the milk fridge restocked from the walk-in, the cups stacked left-handed because she is left-handed, and the lobby photographer who comes through on Tuesdays says it makes the station look intentional. She does not know what intentional means in a coffee bar. She knows it makes the photographer give her a $5 tip on a $4 latte. The pastry case fills next. Croissants, almond, and plain. Pain au chocolat. 6 lemon tarts the pastry chef on the second sub-level pulls from the oven at 4. She arranges them in a fan, glazed side angled toward the lobby lighting. Mr. Ward arrives at 6:04. Square silver glasses already on. Black polo with the gold Aurelia logo stitched over the heart. Short chocolate apron knotted at his lean waist. Holloway. Mr. Ward. He looks at her sleeves. He looks at her bow. He looks at the angle of the lemon tarts. He nods once, the way a foreman nods at a beam that has passed inspection, and he moves to the register. 6:12. The first executive comes through the revolving door. 3-piece pinstripe, navy. Bald. Coughs into a fist. Triple espresso. Drinks it standing at the bar in 3 swallows. Does not tip. Never tips. Walks to the elevator, marked B. 3. 6:14. A woman with a graphite leather portfolio. Cortado, oat. Tips $1. Walks to elevator A. 2. 6:17. 2 men in identical charcoal overcoats, identical haircuts, identical Swiss watches, speaking Mandarin too quickly for her to catch more than the word for hurry. 2 Americanos, one with a shot of vanilla. The vanilla one tips $3, says, "Thank you, miss," in unaccented English, walks to elevator C. 5. She is keeping count. She is always keeping count. It is the discipline her finance professor calls the discipline of the small data set. Every face that crosses the lobby is a data point. Every drink is a variable. Every tip is a coefficient. 47 daily executive orders, repeating 6 days a week, locked in her head in the shape of a spreadsheet she has never written down because, as Professor Reyes said in her sophomore year, the moment you write it down, you stop seeing the patterns inside it. Grace sees the patterns. 6:58. Glass revolving door, the first wave of the 8 a.m. C-suite. 6:59. Madison Sinclair's personal assistant, Tara, who is going to walk past the bar without ordering because Madison drinks only the flat white Tara picks up from a different cafe 2 blocks away. But Tara always stops to glance at the pastry case, as if she is being told from above that calories are forbidden. 7:04. The chief operating officer, no order, gym bag over shoulder, headed for the executive shower on 46. 7:12. She does not have to look up, she knows. The way the lobby acoustic shifts when he comes through the revolving door, the way the morning concierge straightens his tie a 1/4 inch without being told, the way 2 of the security men by the turnstiles drop their conversation and become, for the duration of his crossing, statues. The graphite overcoat man. She lets herself look only once, at the calibrated moment, when the angle of his approach to the bar is 45 degrees and her gaze will not be caught. 6'4". Shoulders that fill the corridor of the overcoat the way a door fills a frame. The coat is graphite, the long executive cut, hem brushing mid-calf, lapels heavy. Beneath it she has glimpsed, on the warmer mornings when he carries the coat folded over his forearm, the white Egyptian cotton dress shirt, cut so close to the body that the geometry of him is visible like a sculpture under linen. Black silk tie, plain, black tailored trousers, black Italian leather shoes that make no sound on the marble. His face is the face of a man carved out of one piece of stone and then polished. Oval diamond, sharp jaw, high cheekbones, the straight nose of a fencer. Skin that has the even, flawless tone of a man who has either never been touched by anxiety or has long since had it removed surgically. The hair is deep black, slicked back medium length, fully combed away from a high forehead, the finish natural rather than wet. Cold almond-shaped eyes, dark brown, analytical, set in the kind of stillness she has only ever seen on the marble busts in the Met. And on the left side of his neck, climbing from beneath the white collar and disappearing behind the ear, the tattoo. A black Korean dragon, drawn in the spare, wet ink hand of sumi-e brushwork. Scales picked out in fine repeating arcs, claws visible at the line of the collarbone where the collar parts a finger's width. The dragon's head curls behind his ear, the body sinuous down the strong column of his neck, the tail vanishing where the shirt closes. She has never seen anyone in this building, in this city, in this kind of suit, wear ink like that openly. He does not hide it. He does not display it. It is simply there, the way a flag is there. The first morning she ever saw him, 11 months ago in March, she had spilled half a pitcher of cold milk on the bar, trying not to stare. He had said nothing then. He had not even looked at her. He had ordered a single espresso, double shot, no sugar, in English so neutral she could not place a single vowel, paid in cash from a slim black wallet, dropped a folded bill into the tip jar without breaking stride, and walked to the private elevator at the far end of the lobby, the one with the brushed steel doors and the biometric reader, and disappeared. The folded bill, when she had unfolded it at the end of her shift, had been a 50. He has come through every weekday morning since. 7:12, never 7:11, never 7:13. Single espresso, double shot, no sugar. He does not sit. He does not speak beyond the order. He drinks the espresso at the bar in 2 measured swallows, sets the cup down on the saucer with the handle turned exactly to 4 o'clock, and walks to the private elevator. The biometric reader recognizes him before he raises his hand. The brushed steel doors close around him and the lobby exhales. In her head, in her spreadsheet that is not a spreadsheet, he is row 1. He is variable 0. He is the constant against which she calibrates the rest of the morning. She knows 3 more things about him that no one has ever told her. She knows he reads the Korean Financial Daily Mail business. She has glimpsed the masthead twice when he set the paper folded on the bar, and that he reads it from the back, the market section first, then the politics, then the front page lead. She knows because the order of the folds, when he leaves the paper behind for the busboy, is always the same. She knows he is left-handed because he reaches for the espresso cup with his left, and the saucer is always rotated by his left thumb. And she knows that whoever he is, whatever the brushed steel elevator goes up to, the floor it goes up to is the 47th, because the floor indicator above the door, which she can see from her station at exactly the right angle if she leans 2 inches to her left, does not stop on the way. 47th floor, top floor, the chairman's floor. She does not know his name. The lobby directory lists the chairman of Sinclair Tower Holdings as a man named Robert Hartley, age 61, white, photograph included. The man with the dragon is not Robert Hartley. The man with the dragon is something else, in some other arrangement, and the part of Grace's mind that has spent 4 years studying corporate structure under Professor Reyes knows that the most powerful man in any building is almost never the man in the directory. At 7:11 and 52 seconds, she pulls a fresh shot. The crema rises perfect, a tiger stripe of caramel over the dark heart of the espresso. She sets the cup on the saucer, rotates the handle to 4 o'clock from her left-handed perspective so it will be 4 o'clock from his, and places the saucer at the inside corner of the bar, the corner he prefers. She has tested this. 3 times in the first month she put it at the outside corner, and 3 times he silently moved it to the inside before drinking. The 4th time, she set it inside without asking, and he had paused for the smallest fraction of a second, the analytical eyes flicking once to her name tag and then away, and then he had drunk. 7:12, the revolving door turns. The lobby acoustic shifts. He comes across the marble, the long graphite coat moving with him as if it is part of the architecture, hands in the deep pockets, and she does not look up because she has already looked up at the calibrated moment, which was 7:11 and 48 seconds, when he was still on the sidewalk, visible through the glass. By the time he reaches the bar, she is positioned at perfect 90 degrees to the cup, hands folded at the waist, eyes lowered just enough to be respectful, and just raised enough to be present, posture elegant the way her grandmother taught her on the porch in Charleston when she was 7 years old. He stops at the bar. He does not speak. He never speaks. He looks down at the cup positioned at the inside corner, rotated handle to 4 o'clock from his side, the crema still alive on the surface, and the smallest possible movement happens at the corner of his mouth. It is not a smile. It is the registration of accuracy, the way an engineer's face moves when a tolerance is met. He picks up the cup with his left hand, drinks, 1 swallow, 2, sets it down. The handle, when he releases it, has not moved. The slim black wallet appears in his right hand. A bill drops folded into the tip jar. He turns. The graphite coat turns with him. He walks the 83 feet across the marble to the private elevator. The biometric reader recognizes him. The brushed steel doors close. Grace exhales. Mr. Ward, behind the register, has watched none of this, because Mr. Ward stopped watching this transaction 4 months ago when he realized she did not need to be watched on it. He is restocking sugar packets. He says, without looking up, "He left you something?" "Yes, Mr. Ward." "Don't count it on the floor." "No, Mr. Ward." She does not count it. She does not have to. She knows from the weight, the way the folded edge presses against her palm when she slides it into the apron pocket. 100. He tips 100 on a $4 espresso every weekday morning, has tipped 100 every weekday morning since the 2nd week of March, and in the 11 months since, she has saved every single bill in a coffee tin under her bed and not spent one of them, because spending them would mean she was the kind of woman who could be bought for $100 a day, and she is not. She is the kind of woman who is going to graduate from NYU Stern in 5 months with a 3.94 GPA and never serve another cup of coffee in her life. She turns to the espresso machine. She purges the group head. She wipes the drip tray. She begins the next ticket because the next ticket is already coming. A junior associate from the 17th floor, oat cortado, extra hot, who tips in coins and complains about the foam, and Grace will smile at him with the same calibrated warmth she gives everyone in the lobby, because the apron is brown, and the shirt is white, and the gold chain is hidden, and the bill in her pocket is folded, and at 5:47 tomorrow morning she will tie the bow again behind her back, ends even, and do all of this once more. The tuition envelope presses against her sternum. 3 days. In her head the spreadsheet updates itself. Row 1, 712, executed, accurate, tip recorded. She moves to row 2, 715. The COO's executive assistant, lavender wool coat, double shot macchiato, no sugar, no tip, never makes eye contact, walks to elevator A. 5. She does not notice, because she has no reason to notice, that on the 47th floor, behind a wall of bulletproof glass overlooking the lobby through a one-way mirror set into a granite column she has walked past every morning for 11 months without seeing. The graphite-coated man has not yet taken off his coat. He is standing at the glass. He is looking down at the bar. He is watching her wipe the drip tray. He has been watching her wipe the drip tray, in one form or another, for 327 mornings. And on his desk, in a slim manila folder his consigliere Han Ji-woo placed there yesterday at 5 p.m., is a single sheet of paper with her name at the top, her photograph in the corner, her NYU transcript printed in full beneath, and at the bottom, written in Han Ji-woo's small, precise hand, the words, "She returned the wallet." 8,400. Untouched. The morning shifts. 9:23 a.m. is a different country from 5:47. By 9, the marble lobby has stopped sounding like a cathedral and started sounding like a market. Heels click in overlapping triplets. The revolving door breathes warm Manhattan air in pulses, carrying perfume, cigarette ash from the corner, the wet rubber of fresh umbrellas drying against thighs. The chandelier above Aurelia Coffee Bar no longer floats alone in the dark. It shares the ceiling with sunlight that pours through the 40-foot south-facing windows in long honey bars that cut across the marble floor like rulers laid down by a giant. Grace stands behind the steam wand. Her white shirt is still crisp at the collar, sleeves still rolled to the elbow at the precise threefold she learned during her first week. The chocolate apron knotted twice at the small of her back. The line is 6 deep. Her hands move without permission. Espresso, milk, lid, sleeve, name. Espresso, milk, lid, sleeve, name. Her voice has the gentle bell pitch it always carries before noon. The polite, "Yes, ma'am, right away, sir. Almond milk, of course." The apologies she does not owe but offers anyway, because tips live inside the word, sorry. She does not see Madison Sinclair approach. She hears her. Madison's heels do not click. They tap. A different consonant entirely. Sharper, lighter. The unmistakable rhythm of someone who has never carried weight she didn't choose. The tap travels from the elevator bank across the marble in a straight predatory line, not toward the line, but toward the counter beside the line, and the 7 women already waiting in their wool coats glance up and then glance down, and then make themselves small, in the way New York teaches you to make yourself small, when wealth that has been alive for 3 generations walks toward you. Madison's blowout swings exactly once at each step, a metronome of pale honey waves, and her teardrop diamond earrings catch the chandelier and scatter it across her jawline in tiny moving sparks. The Birkin hangs in the crook of her left elbow at the angle the magazines specify. Her right hand holds a flat white cup, brown crema, 3/4 full. Grace's flat white, the one she handed across the bar 90 seconds earlier to a tall man in a gray suit who had murmured, "It's for Miss Sinclair, table 4, and Grace had said, "Of course," and slid the saucer toward him with her fingers on the rim, so the foam art, a delicate rosette she had pulled with 3 quick wrist flicks, would not collapse in transit. The rosette has not collapsed. Grace can see it from here, perfect, white on caramel, riding the surface of the cup as Madison walks it back across the lobby like she is carrying a relic. Mr. Ward, behind the register, lifts his head. His silver-framed glasses catch the light. He sees Madison. He sees the angle of the cup. He sees the angle of Grace. He opens his mouth to say something, and the something stays inside it. Because Madison Sinclair is a name that pays the rent of this kiosk, and Mr. Ward, at 58 years old, has not survived 31 years of Manhattan hospitality by speaking before he is spoken to. Madison stops 3 feet from the bar. She does not look at Grace's face. She looks at Grace's chest, at the embroidered Aurelia logo on the white shirt above the apron bib, and she tilts her head the way a buyer tilts her head at an auction when she has decided the lot is overpriced. "Excuse me," she says. Her voice has the flat upspeak of finishing school. "I think there's been a mistake with my drink." Grace sets down the milk pitcher, wipes her hands on the bar towel tucked into her apron string, lifts her face into its waitress smile, the one that costs her nothing because she has practiced it into reflex. "Of course, ma'am. What can I fix?" Madison's light green eyes flick up. They land on Grace's face for the first time. They do something behind them that Grace will later remember as a small adjustment, a recalibration, the way a sniper adjusts for wind. "You can fix the fact," Madison says, "that I asked for oat, and this," she lifts the cup a quarter inch, "is not oat." The ticket is still clipped to the bar rail at Grace's elbow. Grace's eyes drop to it, because Grace's eyes always drop to the ticket, because Grace is a girl who checks her receipts. The ticket says, in Mr. Ward's handwriting, because Mr. Ward took the order at the register, flat white whole milk. No oat anywhere, no modification. Grace knows this. Madison knows this. Mr. Ward, 2 steps away, knows this. The 7 women in the line know this, without having read the ticket, because women know. Grace breathes in, once through her nose, smiles wider, says, "My apologies, ma'am. I'll remake that for you immediately. Oat milk, flat white, no problem." She reaches for the cup. Madison does not give her the cup. Madison tilts her wrist, slowly, with the deliberate cinematic slowness of someone who has rehearsed a moment in a mirror. The flat white pours. It is not a splash. It is not an accident. It is a controlled, measured spill, 2 ounces, 3, 4, the entire 2/3 remaining in the cup, and it pours in a thin, steady ribbon from the rim of the cup directly onto the front of Grace's white shirt, beginning at the collarbone and traveling down across the embroidered logo, across the swell of her chest, across the ribbed white cotton of her stomach, down to the waistband of her apron, where the chocolate brown fabric drinks the coffee and goes black. The line gasps, one single collective intake, then silence. The coffee is not scalding. Madison waited. Madison let it cool to skin safe before walking it back. This too is part of the rehearsal. The mark must not be a burn. The mark must be only a stain. Grace does not move. She feels the heat travel through cotton to skin. She feels the wet bloom across her sternum and pool in the underwire of her bra. She feels the milk run down the inside of her shirt and reach the waistband of her trousers and begin its slow capillary climb. Her thin, delicate gold necklace, the one she hides under the collar because her mother gave it to her at 16 and told her never to let anyone see it sweat. The necklace is now visible because the wet cotton clings transparent to her throat. The rosette is destroyed. White foam smears across the Aurelia logo like a child's finger paint. Madison sets the empty cup down on the bar. Click of porcelain on granite. She brushes one invisible drop from her own champagne gold sleeve. Smiles. "Oh," she says. Light. Conversational. Loud enough for table 4 and table 6, and the suits walking past the kiosk on their way to the elevator bank. "I'm so sorry, my hand slipped." She turns half a step, looks Grace full in the face for the second and final time. "Then again," she says, and now her voice carries, "theater-trained, looking at you, it kind of looks like you spilled the purpose of your life all over yourself anyway. Didn't you?" She lets the sentence land. The line is no longer breathing. Mr. Ward's hand has frozen halfway to the cash drawer. One of the women in line, a black woman in her 40s in a navy coat, has closed her eyes the way you close your eyes against a memory. Grace's hands are still at her sides. Her chin is still level. The gold necklace shines through wet cotton at her throat. She does not blink. She does not speak. Inside her chest, behind the ruined embroidered logo, a small calm thing rises that she does not yet have a name for. It is not rage. It is colder than rage. It is the noticing. Madison waits 2 beats for tears that do not come. Her smile twitches. She turns her body toward the elevator bank, lifts her chin, and prepares to exit the scene she has authored. She does not see him. Nobody sees him. He has been a wall the entire time. Seo Do-jin has been standing 8 feet behind her left shoulder for 41 seconds. Long graphite gray overcoat, hands in the pockets. He came down at his exact ordinary hour and watched the spill from the place where he always watches everything, the marble pillar opposite the kiosk, where the security camera has a blind spot of 14 inches. He removes his right hand from the pocket, just the right one. The black dragon on his neck shifts a fraction beneath the white collar as the muscles in his shoulder unlock for the first motion he will make in this lobby today. He walks. 6 steps. The acoustics of the marble change because his shoes are heavier than hers. People who have not yet noticed him notice him now. A path opens that nobody planned. He stops at the bar, beside Grace. Not in front of her, beside. Close enough that the wool of his overcoat brushes the wet white cotton of her sleeve. He does not look at Grace. He does not look at Madison. He looks at the carafe. The Aurelia drip carafe sits on the warmer at Grace's right hand. 1.2 liters of fresh medium roast, brewed at 840, still at 171 degrees Fahrenheit, because Grace keeps the warmer on the high setting until 10 a.m., when the rush thins. Heavy glass, brushed steel handle, 3/4 full. Seo Do-jin lifts it off the warmer. The motion is unhurried. He weighs it in his hand the way a man weighs a tool he has used before. Madison hears the lift, the small clink of glass leaving metal. She turns. Her smile is still in place because she has not yet computed the sound. She computes it now. Her light green eyes travel up past the black silk tie, up past the white collar, up past the black ink that climbs the side of the neck and ends at the jaw, up to the face, the cold, analytical almond eyes, the slicked-back black hair. The recognition arrives in her face in stages, the way ice cracks across a pond, first a hairline, then a network, then the whole surface. "Mr. Sinclair, Mr. Seo," she begins. He pours. He does not throw, he does not splash. He tips the carafe at the precise angle a sommelier tips a decanter, and 1.2 liters of 171-degree Aurelia medium roast leaves the glass in a single brown column and lands on the crown of Madison Sinclair's Hollywood blowout. The coffee travels. It goes through her hair in a black sheet and emerges at her hairline and runs down her forehead in 4 parallel rivers. It crosses her perfectly drawn brows and pours into her eyes, and she shuts them too late. It runs into her open mouth mid-syllable, and she gags and spits and her teeth show. It cascades down her throat into the V-neck of the champagne gold Italian silk, and the silk drinks it greedily, and the dress goes from champagne to bronze to mud in 2 seconds flat. It runs down her arms over the diamond earrings, down her thighs, down her knees, down her calves, and pools inside her nude Louboutin stilettos, which begin to smoke faintly because the leather is unlined. The Birkin takes a direct hit on the structured cream calfskin. The stain blooms in a perfect Rorschach. He stops pouring when the carafe is empty, sets it back on the warmer. Click of glass on steel. The lobby is a photograph. 40 people, nobody moving. A man at the elevator bank has his phone halfway raised and his hand has forgotten what hands are for. Madison stands in a spreading lake of coffee. Her mouth is open. Her blowout is glued to her skull. Mascara runs in black tracks past the corners of her mouth. Her champagne dress, the $4,000 Italian silk, is a wet brown shroud clinging to every contour she paid a trainer 6 days a week to sculpt. She is shaking, not from the heat. The coffee, like hers, was waited on, allowed to cool to the precise temperature of humiliation without injury. She is shaking from the public. Seo Do-jin turns his head 1 inch toward her. His voice is low. It does not carry. It does not need to. The lobby is so silent that the words travel on their own weight. "Now," he says, in unaccented English, with the faintest soul shadow under the consonants, You are as dirty as your character. He pauses. The pause is a knife. Leave my building. He does not raise his voice on building. He does not need to. The word arrives with the deed already done. Two of his security men in black suits, men Grace has logged at 6:58 every morning for 14 months, materialize from the marble pillars without having been summoned. They flank Madison at a respectful distance. One of them produces a folded gray wool blanket from inside his jacket, the kind kept in executive cars, and offers it not to cover her, but to wipe the floor she is dripping on. Madison does not take the blanket. Madison does not speak. Madison cannot speak. She takes one step toward the revolving door, and her left stiletto slides out from under her in the coffee lake, and she catches herself on the bar rail with a hand that leaves a brown print on the granite. The Birkin slips from her elbow and hits the marble with a wet slap. She does not pick it up. The security man picks it up. He carries it behind her at the angle a butler carries a coat. She walks the 42 feet to the revolving door in absolute silence. The lobby parts for her the way it parted for him. Phones come up now, dozens of them, blooming like small black flowers along the marble walls. The video is already being made. The video will be on TikTok in 11 minutes. The hashtag will write itself. The revolving door turns. Madison Sinclair exits the building of her own surname into the Manhattan morning, dripping Aurelia medium roast onto Fifth Avenue, and the door turns again and she is gone. Seo Do-jin has not moved. His hands are back in the overcoat pockets. He is still standing beside Grace at the bar, close enough that the wool of his sleeve still brushes the wet cotton of hers. He turns his head. For the first time he looks at her face directly. His almond eyes do not soften. They do something else. They focus. The way a lens focuses when the photographer has finally found the subject he came for. Miss Holloway, he says. He has never spoken to her before. He has never used her name. The name on her embroidered logo is Grace in 3mm thread. He did not read it from her chest. He read it somewhere else, on some other piece of paper, at some other hour. Grace's calm noticing thing, the cold, quiet creature behind her sternum, sits up. Yes, sir, she says. Her voice is steady. Her throat is wet. Her gold necklace still glints against soaked white cotton. Please come with me, he says. There is a clean shirt in my office, and then there is a conversation we need to have. He does not phrase it as a question. He does not phrase it as an order. He phrases it as a fact already decided 327 mornings ago. He turns toward the private elevator bank at the rear of the lobby, the one keyed only to the 47th floor, the one she has watched him enter alone at 7:12 every morning for 14 months. He does not look back to see if she follows. He knows she will follow. Mr. Ward is staring at her. His silver glasses have slid down his nose. His mouth is shaping a word that has not yet become sound. Grace unties her apron. The chocolate-brown fabric is heavy with coffee and milk and the morning that has just ended. She folds it once, lays it on the bar beside the empty carafe, and steps out from behind the counter in her ruined white shirt and her straight black trousers and her discreet non-slip shoes, and she walks across the marble lobby in his wake, and the honey bars of sunlight cross her face one by one as she goes, and the 40 silent witnesses watch her ascend out of the life she had at 5:47 this morning, and into a life whose shape she has not yet been told. The private elevator doors open at his approach without him pressing a button. She steps in beside him. The doors close. The lobby seals shut behind them like a chapter. He does not look at her. He looks at the brushed steel panel where his own reflection stands beside hers, a tall man in graphite gray beside a tall woman in a wet white shirt with a gold necklace shining at her throat, and he speaks to the reflection, not to her face. Floor 47, he says. The car begins to climb. The numbers on the brass panel climb in slow red increments. 12, 14, 16. Grace counts them, because counting is what her hands do when her hands have nothing else to hold. The carafe, the cloth, the order pad, the tip jar, the saucer with the foam rosette. All of it stayed behind on the bar with Mr. Ward's shaking gloves and Madison's champagne gold wreckage on the marble. Up here, there is only the soft hum of the cab, the polished brass rail at the small of her back, and the man. Seo Do-jin does not look at her. He looks at his own reflection in the lacquered door panel. The graphite overcoat is still buttoned. His hands are still in the pockets. The black dragon on the left side of his neck sits exactly where she catalogued it 9 months and 4 days ago, scales angling toward the collarbone, the single visible claw, just above the white shirt collar, like a punctuation mark that closes a sentence she has never been allowed to read. 17, 19, 22. You have a stain on your shirt, he says. He does not turn his head. His English is precise, accent light, the consonants placed where someone learned them in a classroom and then sanded them with a decade of Manhattan boardrooms. Yes, sir. It will not come out with cold water. Coffee binds to cotton in the first 90 seconds. I know, sir. How do you know? I have had this job 9 months and 4 days. The shirt is not the first one. He almost smiles. It does not quite reach his face. It is a small movement at the corner of his mouth, a tightening, the kind of contraction a man makes when something he expected to be told is instead handed to him intact. The car passes 30. Grace looks at the numbers because looking at him would require permission she has not been given, and she has spent a lifetime learning the exact angle at which a black woman in a white shirt may stand inside a private elevator with a Korean man in a graphite overcoat without becoming a paragraph in someone else's story. Eyes forward, spine straight, hands loose at her sides where they cannot be accused of anything. He shifts his weight. The overcoat moves with him, heavy and quiet. From the inner breast pocket, he draws a folded sheet of paper. Cream stock, expensive, the kind of paper that announces its own price by the way it refuses to crease. He unfolds it once, holds it at chest height, does not offer it to her. Tell me what this is, he says. She looks. It is her handwriting. Her own loops, her own slant, the small pressed T she makes with the bar low, because her 6th grade teacher made her write it that way, and the habit never left. The page is an order ticket. Aurelia coffee bar header, 10 ticket lines, all 10 filled in her hand. Americano, double, no sugar. Whole milk on the side, separate pitcher, 2 ounces. Folded napkin under saucer, no spoon. Korean morning paper, Chosun Ilbo, opened to the financial pages, pages 3 through 6, refolded with the crease at the masthead. Delivered at 7:12, delivered to the leather chair, southeast corner, the one with its back to the marble pillar so the occupant can see both the revolving door and the elevator bank. It is the order she has filled every weekday morning for 204 mornings. She has never written it down. She has never needed to. She wrote it down once, on a Tuesday 11 weeks ago, when Mr. Ward asked her to leave a note for the morning float who would be covering her shift while she took her finance midterm. She wrote it on the back of a ticket. She left it on the espresso machine. She had assumed it was thrown out at end of shift. That is an order ticket, she says. Aurelia, from my book. It is the only order ticket in this building, written from memory, by a person who was not asked to memorize anything. The float girl who covered your shift photographed it and laminated it. She told her manager it was the only way she could survive the day. Her manager told the head of building services. Building services told my chief of staff. My chief of staff put it on my desk in a folder marked Curiosities. That was 11 weeks ago. I have kept it in my breast pocket since. She does not answer. The car passes 38. Tell me your name, he says. Grace Holloway. Tell me what you study at night. Her breath catches. He says it the way a man reads a line he has already underlined. She wets her lower lip. The stain on her chest pulls cool against her skin. Finance, sir. New York University. Stern. I am a senior. I graduate in May, if I pay the bill. 3.94. Sir? Your grade point average, 3.94. 2 A- in your entire transcript, both in the same semester, the semester your mother had her second stroke. You took an incomplete in macroeconomics and finished it in 6 weeks over the summer with a 97 on the final. You work 51 hours a week between this kiosk and a Sunday brunch shift at a hotel in Midtown East. You owe NYU $4,830 by Friday. You have $3,120 in a checking account at Chase. The difference is $1,710. The numbers leave his mouth in the same flat order he might use to read a stock ticker. He has not raised his voice. He has not lowered it. He has spoken her life back to her in the cadence of a man who has been holding the file open for a very long time. She does not ask how. She does not ask why. She has lived 28 years as a black woman in a city that files her without asking, and the question, how, is a luxury she stopped buying, somewhere around 19. The question that lives in her throat is smaller and older and sharper. What do you want, sir? The car stops. The doors do not open. He has thumbed a button on the panel she did not see him press. They hang at floor 43, between the upper sky lobby and the executive level, suspended in a column of marble and steel, and the cab is so quiet she can hear the brass rail behind her hum with the tension of the cables. He turns his head for the first time. The cold almond eyes settle on her face. They do not flick down to the stain. They do not flick to her mouth. They land on her eyes, and they stay there with the steady weight of a man who has been told all his life that looking away is a form of lying. I have a board, he says, that leaks. 47th floor. 11 directors. 3 of them are selling minutes of my meetings to a rival faction in Queens for sums that would embarrass a junior associate. I cannot prove which 3. My counsel can prove which 3, but he cannot do it without paper, and the paper has to be moved by a hand that does not belong to any of the 11. The hand also has to be able to remember which director took which seat at which meeting on which Thursday for the last 14 months, because the only way to triangulate the leak is to cross-reference visitor logs with seating charts with the financial pages of the Korean morning paper that 2 of the directors read in the lobby before they ride up. I need a photographic mind that has not been touched by my company. I need a person whose memory is already trained, whose discretion is already proven, whose loyalty has never been purchased, because no one has ever thought to offer her a price. I need a person who can stand inside a room of liars and remain, by the simple mechanical fact of her presence, the only honest instrument in the air. He pauses, not for breath, for her. I need you, Miss Holloway. $8,000 a month. Health insurance starting Monday. Tuition reimbursement for your remaining bill, wired to NYU Bursar by close of business today. A desk on the 47th floor outside my office. The title on the door will read, Executive Assistant to the Chairman. The work behind the door will be different. You will not pour coffee for me again. You will pour it for the 11, and you will watch which of them drinks it cold. The cab hums. The brass rail hums. Somewhere in the shaft, a cable settles against its drum, with a sound like a long exhale. Grace does not move. She has, in 9 months and 4 days behind the espresso machine, learned to recognize the precise weight of an offer that is too heavy to be refused, because she has been refused enough of them to know what the heavy ones feel like in the air. This one is heavier than any. It sits on her sternum and pushes down through the stain on her shirt and into the soles of her non-slip shoes. Why, she says. Not a question, a demand. The waitress smile is gone. The polite bell pitch is gone. The voice that emerges is the one she uses when she calls Chase about an overdraft. The one her mother used to use at the welfare office. The one that has carried 3 generations of Holloway women through doors that were not opened for them. Why me? Why not the woman in compliance? Why not your lawyer's niece? Why a barista with a stain on her shirt? He does not look away. Because the woman in compliance has been bought twice already and does not know I know. Because my lawyer's niece is brilliant and afraid, and fear is a leak I cannot close. Because 11 weeks ago you wrote an order from memory and did not bill the float girl for the favor. Because in this building of 900 people, I have watched precisely one human being execute the same gesture every morning for 204 mornings without ever once looking at me to be certified for it. You did not perform the work. You did the work. That distinction is the entire job. He folds the cream sheet of paper, returns it to the inner breast pocket. The dragon claw at his collarbone catches the recessed light in the cab and throws a small ink-black shadow up along his jaw. You may refuse, he says. If you refuse, you will leave this car on the lobby level, with your shift intact, your job intact, your tips intact. Mr. Ward will be told nothing. Madison Sinclair will not return to this building. Your tuition bill will be paid by an anonymous donor on Friday morning, regardless of your answer, because I have already wired it, and the wire cannot be recalled. The $8,000 a month is conditional. The $4,830 is not. I do not buy people. I recognize them. You are free. The hum in the rail deepens. Grace looks down. The stain on her white shirt has begun to darken at the edges where the cotton has dried. A tan halo around a brown center, the shape of a continent she has never been to. She looks at her hands. The knuckles of her right hand are still flushed from gripping the carafe she did not get to use. The thin gold chain at her throat lies hidden where it has always lain, against the skin her grandmother told her to keep covered, in places where she was being weighed. She thinks of the bursar's window, the fluorescent light, the woman behind the glass who calls her name without looking up. She thinks of her mother in the Bronx apartment with the radiator that bangs at 4 a.m. She thinks of her father's voice on a cassette she has not played in 11 years, telling her to keep her eyes on her own paper. She lifts her face. On Friday, she says, I want to see the wire confirmation from NYU bursar in my hand before I take off this apron. You will have it by 11. On Monday, I want a contract on my desk, in English, 12-point font, with a clause that says I may resign at any hour and walk out with my own notes. My counsel will draft it tonight. He will hand it to you at 8 a.m. And in this elevator, sir, in this building, in this job, if at any point I learn that you have lied to me about why you brought me up here, I will walk out of the lobby and I will walk into the nearest field office of the FBI and I will tell them everything I have memorized, including the order on the back of the ticket, including the dragon on your neck, including the seat by the pillar. For the first time, Seo-dojin smiles. It is not the tightening at the corner of the mouth. It is a full smile, brief, 2 seconds, the kind a man wears when he has been waiting a very long time to hear a sentence, and the sentence finally arrives with all its edges sharp. Miss Holloway, he says, if I ever lie to you, I will hand you the address of the field office myself. He thumbs the panel. The cab releases. The numbers climb again. 44, 45, 46. The doors part on 47. The corridor beyond is silent. Cream walls, recessed light, a long runner of charcoal wool that absorbs every footfall. Halfway down the corridor, a woman waits beside an open door. Red hair in an asymmetric bob, black blazer, ivory silk blouse, mid-heel pumps, a silver corporate badge at her waist. She does not smile. She inclines her head 1/4 inch when she sees who steps out of the elevator beside the chairman, and the inclination is not deference, it is calculation, the brief mechanical adjustment of a woman who has just been given a new variable to solve for. Miss Bennett, Dojin says, this is Miss Grace Holloway. She begins Monday. Please prepare an office. Second door past mine, the one facing the river. She will have full access to the executive floor, the visitor logs, and the Thursday meeting minutes for the last 14 months. She will report to me alone. Claire Bennett's gray-blue eyes flick once across Grace's stained white shirt, across the chocolate apron, across the gold chain that has, in the motion of stepping out of the cab, slipped a half-inch above the collar and become visible. Across Grace's face. The flick takes less than a second. When it is done, Bennett's mouth has assumed the exact polite shape that compliance directors are trained to assume when they have been handed a fact that does not yet have a category. Of course, Chairman. Her voice is soft, clipped, careful. Welcome to the 47th floor, Miss Holloway. Grace meets her eyes. She does not smile. She has spent enough of the morning smiling. Thank you, Miss Bennett, she says. I will see you Monday at 8. Dojin's hand lifts. He does not touch her. He gestures, palm open, toward the corridor. Mr. Ward has been informed that you are taking the rest of today as a personal day, he says quietly. Only for her. Your tips for this shift have been covered out of building petty cash. A car is waiting at the South Service entrance to take you home. There is a clean white shirt of your size in the back seat, in case you would prefer not to ride the subway in that one. She looks at him. The dragon on his neck does not move. His face does not move. Only his eyes are moving, and they are moving across her face with the careful attention of a man who has just signed a name to a line and is reading the signature back to be sure the ink has set. Sir, she says, why a white shirt? Because, he says, you will want to walk out of this building today wearing the uniform you walked in with. Tomorrow you may wear whatever you choose. Today is yours. He inclines his head, half an inch, the smallest possible bow. Then he turns and walks down the corridor toward the door at the end, and the graphite overcoat moves with him in one heavy, quiet line, and Claire Bennett steps aside to let him pass, and the door closes behind him with a soft pneumatic seal. Grace stands in the silent corridor on the 47th floor of Sinclair Tower with a coffee stain on her shirt and $4,830 about to land in her bursar account and a contract being drafted in a lawyer's office somewhere uptown, and she understands, with the cold mechanical clarity of a woman who has just been recognized for the first time in her adult life, that the elevator she stepped into 9 minutes ago has not gone up. It has gone through. She turns toward the elevator bank. The cab is still there, doors open, waiting. She steps inside. She presses L. The doors close on the cream corridor and the charcoal runner and the silver badge of Claire Bennett, who is still standing exactly where she was, watching the numbers begin to fall. The lobby at 5:51 in the morning has the temperature of a closed refrigerator and the quiet of a chapel. Grace crosses the marble in flat black shoes. The cream corridor and the silver badge of Claire Bennett are 47 floors above her, still imprinted on the back of her eyes. She does not go to Aurelia. She has not worked the bar in 19 days. She turns left at the dragon column and walks toward the executive elevator with the brass plate that reads Sinclair Tower Holdings, Private. The card in her pocket is matte black. Her name is etched into it in thin silver letters. G. Holloway, Analyst, Office of the Chairman. She taps the card to the reader. The reader chirps once, soft, almost polite. The doors open. Inside the cab there is no music. There is no mirror panel. There is one button. She presses it. The cab climbs. The 47th floor receptionist is a woman named Hai Jin, who does not smile and does not need to. She nods. Grace nods. The east corridor opens to a long room of leasing files, leaseback schedules, sublet manifests, broker confirmations, building access logs, vendor invoices, the entire skeletal architecture of a Manhattan tower laid out in neat banker boxes and color-coded binders. This is her room now. Han Ji-woo had walked her into it on day 3. He had set his black briefcase on the long table, pushed his round gold-rimmed glasses up the bridge of his nose, and said only, "Read everything. Tell me what you see." She has been reading for 19 days. She sets her bag down. She takes off her coat. Underneath, she is wearing the new uniform of her new life. A soft cream blouse, straight charcoal trousers, low black pumps, the thin gold necklace that used to hide under the white collar, now sitting where it was always meant to sit, against the warm brown skin at her throat. She ties her silk press hair back with a single black ribbon. She sits. The cross-reference sheets are stacked 4 high, leasing on her left, lobby access logs on her right. In the middle, her own handwritten ledger, the one she has been keeping since the first morning Jiwoo set her loose. 268 names. 268 names. She has catalogued from 9 months of pouring coffee in the lobby. Each name beside each face, beside each tenant suite, beside each entry timestamp. It is the kind of work no software can do. Software does not remember that the man in the Navy Chesterfield who signs in as Peter Lang at the front desk is the same man she served a double cortado to under the name Pyotr Lankovsky in the second week of March. Software does not notice that the tenant in Suite 38B, who pays through a Delaware shell, once asked Mr. Ward for oat milk in a Russian accent he was trying to hide. She remembers. She always remembers. This morning she is on the M sheet. M for Madison. She has been circling it for 3 days, the way a hawk circles a field. She did not let herself land. She told herself she was being unprofessional. She told herself the woman who emptied a flat white over her shirt was a socialite, with too much champagne and too little parenting and nothing more. She told herself the carafe of dark roast that came down on the champagne gold dress was the end of the story. But the story is not closed. The story is a binder, and the binder is open in front of her now. Madison Sinclair does not lease space in Sinclair Tower. Madison Sinclair's father sold his shares of Sinclair Tower in 2019. The name on the building is the name on the deed of a dead man, kept because it sounds like old money. Madison has no business in this lobby. Madison has never had business in this lobby. Grace has poured coffee on this marble for 2 years and 3 months, and she has seen Madison Sinclair walk through the revolving doors exactly 4 times. The first was a Tuesday in April. The second was a Friday in June. The third was a Wednesday in August. The fourth was the morning of the dress. 4 visits, 4 mornings. Grace pulls the lobby camera log Jiwoo gave her clearance to view. She matches the timestamps. On all 4 mornings, Madison arrived between 9:11 and 9:24. On all 4 mornings, Seo Do-jin came down from the 47th floor between 9:18 and 9:26. Madison was not there for coffee. Madison was there for him. Grace's pen stops moving. She lays it down very carefully across the seam of the ledger. She opens the M binder wider. Visitor logs. Each visit, Madison signed in under a different tenant suite. April, Suite 19F. June, Suite 22A. August, Suite 31C. The morning of the dress, Suite 38B. 3 different shells, 1 repeat. Suite 38B. Pyotr Lankovsky. Her hand goes cold. She crosses the room to the leasing wall. She pulls 38B. The lease was signed 11 months ago to a Delaware LLC called North Star Hospitality Partners. The signature on the master agreement is a scrawl that looks like a doctor's. She pulls the corporate registry printout, Jiwoo, stapled to the inside cover. North Star Hospitality Partners is owned in turn by a Wyoming entity called Blue Crane Holdings. Blue Crane is owned by a Cayman entity called Azure Pavilion Trust. Azure Pavilion lists a single managing trustee. The name is in Romanized Korean, Cho Hyun-tae. She has heard that name once. She heard it 3 days ago. She heard Han Ji-woo say it on the phone in the corridor, quietly, in a tone she did not recognize, the way a man names an illness he does not want his children to hear. Chongryong-pa. She does not know what the words mean exactly. She knows enough. She knows that Gyeomgwangpa is the structure she now works inside. She knows that any word with pa at the end of it is a family, and any other family is a rival, and a rival who has rented a suite 11 months ago in this building under 3 layers of shell is not a tenant. A rival who has rented a suite under 3 layers of shell is a beachhead. She sits back down. She breathes through her nose. She lays both palms flat on the table, the way her grandmother used to lay her palms flat on the kitchen counter when the news was bad and the rent was due. Then she pulls the camera log for the morning of the dress. The Aurelia bar is at the south end of the lobby. The marble runs 64 feet from the brass column to the revolving door. Madison entered at 9:11. She did not go to the elevators. She did not go to the concierge. She walked the long diagonal across the marble to the coffee bar. She ordered a flat white. She stood at the pickup counter. She waited 4 minutes for a drink that takes 90 seconds. She watched the elevator bank the entire time. At 9:22, the chairman's private cab opened. Seo Do-jin stepped out. He turned toward the south revolving door. At 9:23, Madison crossed the lobby on a vector that intercepted him exactly at the Aurelia pickup counter, and she emptied the cup. The camera angle is from the northeast corner. It catches everything. It catches the small black object in Madison's left hand that she palms back into her Birkin half a second after the cup leaves it. A phone, tilted upward, recording. Grace pulls the second camera, the one mounted in the brass column above the column. She finds the same moment from a different angle. She finds a second figure she had not catalogued at the time, because she had been catalogued herself, soaked in espresso and humiliation. A man in a dark gray topcoat at the revolving door. He is not entering. He is standing in the half rotation of the door, holding it static, and his right hand is raised to his ear in the universal posture of a man pretending to be on a phone call. The angle of his shoulder says the back of his phone is facing the lobby. The lens is facing the lobby. He is recording too. 2 angles, 2 phones, 1 ambush. The whole scene snaps into focus the way a fever breaks. Madison was not a drunk heiress with bad manners. Madison was bait. The flat white was the trigger. The collapse of Grace's white shirt and Mr. Ward's gloves and the marble suddenly running brown, all of it was a stage set to provoke one specific reaction in one specific man. They were waiting to see whether Seo Do-jin, chairman of the front, underboss of the family, hostile takeover specialist, would intervene over a black barista in a coffee-stained shirt. They were waiting to see whether he would put his hand on the carafe. They were waiting to film him doing it. They wanted footage of an underboss losing his composure in his own lobby, in defense of a woman he had never publicly acknowledged, so the council in Seoul could be shown that the New York chair had become emotional. Emotional underbosses get reassigned. Reassigned underbosses lose territory. Lost territory is a doorway. Chongryong-pa wanted the doorway, and he poured the pot. He poured the pot because he saw the trap and he did not care. Or he poured the pot because he saw the trap and he wanted them to know he had seen it. Grace does not know which. She suspects, now, sitting in the long, quiet room with the morning beginning to gray the East River outside the window, that it might have been both. She is not done. She crosses the room to the Suite 38B leasing folder a second time. She pulls the rent payment history. 11 months of wire transfers. The originating bank is a private credit union in Greenwich, Connecticut. She pulls the credit union name into the secondary database Ji-woo gave her access to on day 11. The credit union is owned by a holding company. The holding company has 6 client accounts. 5 of them are unremarkable. The 6th is a personal use account, not a corporate one. The name on the personal use account is Mark Devlin. Grace stops breathing. Mark Devlin is the chief financial officer of Sinclair Tower Holdings. Mark Devlin is the man whose 44th floor office sits directly below the chairman's. Mark Devlin is the man who signs the vendor invoices she has been rechecking for 19 days. Mark Devlin's signature appears on the bottom of every wire that has gone out of Sinclair Tower since 14 months ago. 14 months. The number is not random. Ji-woo had used the same number on day 6, drinking black coffee in the corner of the leasing room, talking to no one and to her. He had said, "We have been losing positional intelligence for 14 months, not catastrophically, just enough that every move arrives one step late." He had said it the way a man names the year his back went out. She pulls Devlin's vendor file. She pulls his expense reports. She pulls his calendar, which Ji-woo had cloned into the analyst terminal without comment on day 14. She runs the search Ji-woo taught her. Cross-reference all hotel charges over $400, with all calendar entries marked personal. The terminal spits back a list. 41 entries over 14 months. The Pierre, the Carlisle, the Mark, the Lowell. Always a Tuesday or a Friday. Always between 11 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. She cross-references the hotel stay dates against Madison Sinclair's public Instagram, which Ji-woo also cloned, dryly, on day 15. 40 of the 41 days correspond to a Madison post tagged in Manhattan. The 41st day Madison was in St. Barth's, which means he was with someone else, which is interesting, but not the headline. The headline is the other 40. Madison is Mark Devlin's mistress. Mark Devlin is Sinclair Tower's leak. Madison was sent into the lobby to provoke a recorded loss of composure from Seo Do-jin, so that Chung Ryong-pa could move on the chair Devlin had been softening for 14 months from the inside. 3 weeks in, sitting at the long table in the leasing room with the binder open and her gold necklace warm against her throat and her silk press hair pulled back with a single black ribbon and the East River turning from gray to pale rose outside the window, Grace Holloway puts down her pen for the second time that morning and looks at the wall and understands, with the clean, cold understanding of a woman who has lived her whole life paying attention, that she is no longer holding the carafe. She is holding the entire pot. She walks to the inner door. She knocks once. A voice on the other side, low, even, neither surprised nor warm, says, "Come." She opens the door. Han Ji-woo is at the long meeting table with 3 open folders and an empty espresso cup and a calligraphy brush laid across an unopened ledger like a paperweight. He looks up. The round, gold-rimmed glasses catch the dawn light. He says nothing. He waits. She crosses the room. She sets the M binder, the North Star printout, the camera screenshots, the wire transfer ledger, and her own handwritten cross-reference page in a neat fan across the polished walnut. She sets them in the order a prosecutor would set them. She does not speak until they are aligned. Then she says, "Madison Sinclair was bait. Suite 38B belongs to Chung Ryong-pa through 3 shells. The CFO is paying the rent. The CFO is also paying for the hotel rooms where he sleeps with the bait. He has been leaking for 14 months. They wanted to film the chairman defending me, so the council in Seoul would call him compromised. The flat white was the cue. The carafe was the answer they were hoping for." Ji-woo does not move for a long moment. Then he reaches forward, very slowly, and turns the M binder 90 degrees so it faces him. He reads. He turns a page. He reads. He turns another. He reads the wire ledger. He reads the camera screenshots. He sets his palm flat on the cross-reference page, the way her grandmother used to set her palm flat on the kitchen counter. He says, in Korean, very quietly, one short word she does not know. Then he says, in English, "How long have you had this?" 40 minutes. "And you came directly here?" "Yes." He nods once. He picks up the espresso cup. It is empty. He sets it down. He picks up the calligraphy brush. He sets it down. He stands. He walks to the window. He looks at the East River for the length of 4 breaths. Then he turns. "Sit down, Miss Holloway." She sits. You will not return to your apartment tonight. You will not call your mother. You will not call the school. You will not use the personal phone in your bag from this moment forward. There is a phone in the top drawer of the desk in the leasing room. It is already provisioned. Use it. Yes. The chairman is in Seoul until the 17th. I know. He does not know what you have just brought me. I assumed. He will know in 9 minutes. After he knows, the building will begin to move in ways you will feel before you understand. Do not be afraid of what you feel. Continue your work. Do not look up from your binders, unless I am the one standing at your door. Do you understand? Yes? One more thing. She waits. Jiwoo crosses back to the table. He picks up her handwritten cross-reference page. He folds it once, lengthwise. He slides it inside the breast pocket of his charcoal three-piece. He buttons the pocket. He looks at her over the round gold rims. The chairman did not hire a barista, he says. He hired the only mind in this building that was looking at the building. Now we find out what looking costs. She walks back to the leasing room. She closes the door. She sits down at the long table. She opens the next binder. She lifts her pen. Outside the window, the East River has gone from rose to pale gold, and somewhere 38 floors below her, in a suite she will never enter, a phone is beginning to ring. The phone rings on a glass desk in a suite Grace will never enter. It rings 4 times. It goes to voicemail. The light on the receiver blinks green, then orange, then nothing. 46 floors above the street, the sun has fully cleared the East River. The pale gold has turned to white. The day has begun without any warning that it will end her. Grace does not see the call. She is still in the long room with the leasing binders, her pen capped, her hands flat on the table. She has slept 3 hours. She tells herself the fatigue is a tax she is willing to pay. She opens the laptop the firm issued her on day 4 and types the password Hae-jin gave her on a folded yellow sticky note. The screen wakes. The browser opens to the corporate homepage. The corporate homepage is gone. In its place, there is a tabloid headline in red caps and a photograph in grainy black and white. The headline reads, Sinclair Tower Chairman and his barista, inside the elevator affair that is shaking Wall Street. The photograph shows a man in a long graphite gray overcoat with his hand at the small of a woman's back. The woman is black. The woman is wearing a white shirt. The angle of the camera makes her shirt look unbuttoned at the collar. It is not unbuttoned. It has never been unbuttoned. But the angle is patient, and the lighting is generous to the lie. Grace recognizes the elevator. She recognizes the carpet. She recognizes the date stamp at the corner of the image because she remembers what she was carrying that day. A binder. Leaseback manifests. Section 9. The hand at her back had not been there. She had walked into the cab alone. Seo Do-jin had been in Seoul for 41 hours. She scrolls. There are 7 more photographs. In each of them, her shirt has been edited a little further open. In one of them, his hand is lower. In one of them, her head is tilted toward his shoulder. In the last one, the angle has been flipped and her face has been brightened so that the camera catches her smiling. She has never smiled in that elevator. She has carried binders in that elevator. She has been alone in that elevator. She closes the laptop. She opens it again. The headline is still there. Her phone buzzes against the wood. It is the NYU registrar. The voice on the other end is administrative and gentle and final. There has been an anonymous complaint. The complaint alleges undeclared income, undeclared employment, and undeclared relationships with a parent of the program's sponsoring board. The complaint has been filed with documentary evidence. The university policy is suspension pending review. Pending review can take 6 to 9 weeks. Finals begin in 4 days. Her diploma, the registrar says with practiced regret, will be held in escrow. Grace says thank you. She does not know why she says thank you. She hangs up. The room is suddenly the wrong temperature. The leasing binders look like furniture in a stranger's apartment. She picks up her phone again and presses Seo Dojin's contact. The call rings 4 times. It goes to voicemail. His voicemail is silence and a single tone. She does not leave a message. She presses again. 4 rings. Voicemail. The single tone. She sets the phone face down on the table. She walks. She does not know where she is walking. She passes Heijin's desk. Heijin does not look up. She crosses the cream corridor. She takes the executive elevator down. The cab is silent. The cab smells faintly of the cedar oil the building uses on the brass. She steps out into the lobby. The marble that has been her sky for 14 months is suddenly very far below her shoes. Mr. Elijah Ward is behind the Aurelia counter. He sees her cross the lobby. He starts to lift his hand in a small greeting. He sees her face. His hand drops. His mouth opens. It closes. He picks up a clean towel and wipes a counter that does not need to be wiped. 2 regulars at the espresso bar lean toward each other and stop talking. A man at the pastry case turns his phone screen down against the glass. Grace keeps walking. She pushes through the brass revolving door. The November air hits her in the face like clean water. She walks 2 blocks west, 3 blocks north, until she does not know where she is. She stops at a corner. She takes out her phone. She calls Dojin again. 4 rings. Voicemail. She lowers the phone. The single tone is still in her ear like a thin wire. She takes the subway home. The train is half empty. She sits with her hands in her lap and her bag between her feet. A teenager across the aisle is scrolling a phone. The screen of the phone, when it angles toward her, shows a thumbnail of a black woman in a white shirt and a man in a graphite overcoat. The teenager is not reading the article. The teenager is sharing it. Grace gets off 2 stops early and walks. The door to her apartment on West 138th Street is ajar. The strip of light along the frame is wrong. She stops at the top of the stairs. She listens. The hallway smells like the building's old radiator paint. She pushes the door with 2 fingers. It swings open. Her single room has been turned inside out. The mattress is half off the frame. The drawers of the small dresser are out, the clothes pulled into a pile on the floor. The kitchen cabinets stand open. The shoebox under the bed where she kept her father's letters is open on the rug. The letters are still inside. Whoever came here did not want letters. She knows what they wanted before her eyes confirm it. The bottom drawer of the dresser, the one with the false back where she had slipped a thin manila folder, is pulled out and tipped on its side. The false back is splintered. The folder is gone. 14 months of cross-referenced photographs of CFO Mark Devlin at hotel bars, the 11 leaseback anomalies that matched his bonus weeks, the 3 photocopied wire transfers that Han Ji-woo had let her keep for her own records, gone. Her notebook with Madison Sinclair's name written in the margin and underlined twice, gone. Grace lowers herself to her knees in the middle of the rug. She does not cry. Crying is a luxury that requires safety. She is not safe. She picks up one of her father's letters. The envelope is the color of weak tea. The handwriting is the handwriting that taught her cursive at a kitchen table in Camden. She holds the letter for a moment. She puts it back in the box. She closes the lid. Her phone buzzes. She answers without looking. It is Claire Bennett. The voice of the compliance director is the voice of a woman reading a prepared script. There has been an internal review. The review has determined that Ms. Holloway's continued access to the 47th floor presents a reputational risk to Sinclair Tower Holdings during the pendency of an external inquiry. Her badge has been remotely deactivated. Her firm-issued laptop will be retrieved by a courier at the address on file. Her personal effects from the long room will be couriered to her within 48 hours. The decision is final, pending the chairman's return. The chairman, Claire says with the same flat care, is currently out of country and unreachable. Grace says she understands. She says it like a person saying a number out loud to remember it. She hangs up. She sits on the rug among her own clothes. She looks at the ceiling. The ceiling has a water stain shaped like an unfinished map. She calls Dojin one more time. 4 rings. The voicemail. The single tone. She sets the phone face down on the rug beside the shoebox of her father's letters. Somewhere across the city, in a corner office on the 22nd floor of a different tower, CFO Mark Devlin is leaning back in a leather chair with his collar open and a tumbler of bourbon catching the late morning light. Madison Sinclair is on the couch behind him in a cream cashmere wrap, her honey blonde Hollywood blowout pinned back with a tortoiseshell clip, her phone held in both hands like a small communion plate. She is watching the engagement count on the leaked story climb. 240,000, 290, 310. She smiles a small, tight, rehearsed smile. Devlin does not smile. Devlin is calculating. Devlin has been calculating for 14 months. The leak to the Chungryongpa rival faction has been steady, anomaly by anomaly, leaseback by leaseback, 2.5% of the building's quarterly cash flow rerouted into a Cayman shell that pays him a finder's fee that has, over 14 months, become the down payment on a house in Tribeca he has not yet told his wife about. The barista was the variable he had not modeled. The barista had a photographic mind, a 3.94 GPA, and the inconvenient habit of cross-referencing his expense reports with the lobby camera logs. The barista had been the only person in the building who could see the shape of the entire fraud at once, because she was the only person looking at the building from the bottom up instead of the top down. He had told the rival faction what he needed. The rival faction had supplied Madison. Madison had supplied the spill. Dojin had supplied the carafe. The carafe had bought the rival faction 14 hours of footage of a Korean underboss losing his temper over a black waitress in a public lobby. 14 hours that should have been useful and instead had become inert when Dojin promoted the waitress to his private office 2 days later and stopped being legible to anyone outside the 47th floor. So Devlin had pivoted. The leaked photographs were a second carafe. The NYU complaint was a third. The break-in was a fourth. The badge revocation was a fifth. He had wanted, in a single morning, to make her unreachable, unemployable, undegreeable, undocumented, and ungrievable. He had wanted to make her a story instead of a witness. He had wanted Dojin, returning from Seoul, to find a smoking ruin where his analyst had been, and to be forced to choose between the woman and the empire. Devlin sips the bourbon. Madison turns the phone toward him. 380,000. The small, tight smile widens 0.5 millimeter. Outside the window, the white light of late morning sharpens against the glass. Back on West 138th Street, Grace sits on the rug for a long time. Her stomach makes a sound she ignores. The radiator clanks. The light from the single window moves across the floor and reaches the leg of the dresser and begins to climb. She picks her phone up. She does not call Dojin again. She opens her contacts. She scrolls down to a name she has not called in 9 months. Aunt Reba in Camden. Her thumb hovers. She does not press. Aunt Reba would say, "Come home, baby." And there is a part of Grace that would say yes. And there is a part of her that knows yes is the end of the story she has been writing since she was 16. She closes the contacts. She opens her notes app instead. She begins to type. She types from memory because the manila folder is gone, and the notebook is gone, and the laptop is being couriered away. She types the 11 leaseback anomalies by date. She types the 3 wire transfer reference numbers. She types the 7 hotel bar dates with Devlin and the woman who is not his wife. She types Madison Sinclair's name and the words bait, Chungryongpa, 14 months. She types until her thumbs ache. She types until the light on the rug has crossed to the opposite wall. Then she stops. She stares at the screen. She has just rebuilt, from a brain that does not forget, the entire dossier that someone broke down her door to steal. She has just demonstrated, in a single afternoon on a cracked phone screen, the exact reason she was hired in the first place. The reason Do-jin had said, once, quietly, in the cab of the executive elevator on day 3, "I need a photographic mind uncontaminated by the leaking board." She saves the note. She does not email it. She does not put it on a cloud. She labels it with the name of a recipe her mother used to make, and she buries it in a folder labeled groceries. She stands. Her legs are stiff. She walks to the small bathroom. She washes her face with cold water. She looks in the mirror. The silk press is still impeccable. The center part is still clean. The deep brown skin still carries its golden luminosity, even under a single bare bulb. The eyes that look back at her are tired, and they are not finished. She returns to the main room. She picks up her clothes from the floor and folds them on the bed. She slides the mattress back onto the frame. She closes the cabinet doors. She picks up the shoebox of her father's letters and sets it carefully on the top shelf of the closet. She straightens the broken false back of the bottom drawer with 2 careful taps of her palm. She does not have the wood to fix it tonight. It can wait. Her phone buzzes once on the rug behind her. She turns. The screen is lit. The notification is not from Do-jin. The notification is from an unknown number with a Manhattan area code. The preview shows 3 words and the curl of a 4th before it cuts. The 3 words are, "He is back." Grace stands very still in the middle of her ransacked room. The radiator clanks. Outside her window, the November afternoon has begun its long, slow tilt toward evening. Somewhere across the river, a black town car with tinted windows is leaving the JFK Executive Terminal and merging onto the Van Wyck. In the back seat, a man in a graphite gray overcoat is reading a folded copy of a Korean newspaper. He has not slept in 30 hours. His phone, set face up on the leather beside him, has begun to buzz with 17 missed calls from a number he recognizes. He does not pick it up. He turns the page of the paper. The page is the obituaries. He reads the names slowly, the way he has read them every morning of his adult life, the way he had read them on the morning a black waitress in a white shirt and a chocolate apron had set a cup of black coffee at his right hand and had folded the paper to exactly this page without being asked. In the apartment on West 138th Street, Grace picks up the phone. She reads the 3 words again. "He is back." She does not open the message yet. She sets the phone on the small kitchen counter beside the kettle. She fills the kettle from the tap. She lights the burner. The blue flame catches and steadies. She watches it for a long moment. She has made coffee for strangers for 9 years. She has measured grams and bloomed beans and steamed milk to exact temperatures for men in $1,000 shoes who never once learned her name. She has made coffee at 5 in the morning, with hands so cold she had to run them under hot water before she could open the bag. She has made coffee on the day her father died, 2 hours after the call from the hospital, because the rent was due and Mr. Ward had no one to cover the bar. She has never, until tonight, made coffee for herself in a room that had been broken into. She takes the small French press from the second shelf. She rinses it. She measures 4 scoops of the cheap grocery store ground from the tin she keeps next to the salt. She pours the water at a count of 40 seconds off the boil. She stirs once. She caps the press. She sets the timer in her head for 4 minutes. The smell rises through the small room and pushes back, just a little, against the smell of strangers' hands on her clothes. While the coffee steeps, she picks up the phone. She opens the message. The 4th word, when she opens it, is a name. The name is hers. Grace stares at the screen until the letters stop being letters and become a sound, a low hum behind her teeth. Seo Do-jin. 3 words. A request to come downstairs. Not the lobby. The underground garage, level B3. The corner the cameras do not reach because the cameras down there belong to the building, and the building belongs to him. She does not move for a full minute. The kettle clicks off behind her. The steam pillars up and folds against the cabinet and falls. She watches it the way a person watches weather through a window of a house that is no longer hers. Then she stands. She pours the tea anyway. She drinks it standing. Her hand does not shake. That, more than anything, surprises her. The elevator in her building is slow and smells like wet cardboard. She rides it down with her coat buttoned to the throat and her keys laced through her knuckles, the way her mother taught her at 14. The street is wet. A black sedan idles at the curb. The back door opens before she touches it. Han Ji-woo is in the passenger seat. He does not turn around. He says, "Miss Holloway, I am sorry for the silence. It was necessary. I will explain when we arrive." She sits. She closes the door. The car moves. "Where is he?" she says. "He has been in Seoul since Tuesday morning," Ji-woo says. "He flew back 4 hours ago. He is at the tower. Tuesday morning. Yes. His phone was in a drawer in the Gangnam office. On purpose." She lets that sit. She watches the city slide past, the wet awnings, the bodega lights, the long red bleed of a delivery bike. She thinks about the voicemail that did not return, the badge that died in the reader, the apartment door that hung open on its hinge. She thinks about Madison's hand on the carafe and the champagne gold dress turning brown. She thinks about a wallet she returned 11 months ago because returning it was the only thing that made sense at 3 in the morning on the 4 train. "You took the dossier," she says. "Yes." Before they came, 40 minutes before, the bureau executed the warrant at 11:17. We were inside your apartment at 10:35. The door was already open. Someone had been there first, looking for the same thing. They did not find it, because it was not where you thought it was. It was in the radiator vent. It was in the radiator vent. Mr. CO told me where to look. He knew where I hid things. He pays attention. The garage ramp swallows the car. The headlights wash across concrete and stop. B3. Corner spot. No cameras. The driver kills the engine. Ji-woo turns now. The round gold-rimmed glasses catch the overhead bulb. He looks tired. He looks like a man who has not slept in 3 days and has stopped pretending to. "Miss Holloway, before you go up, I need to tell you 4 things, quickly, in order, so that when you see him you are not negotiating from a position of confusion. Go. 1. The dossier you built on Mark Devlin is intact. It is in the 7th floor vault. Nothing was added. Nothing was removed. We made a forensic copy, and the original carries your fingerprints only. 2. The bureau is not a problem. The leak that flagged your apartment came from inside Devlin's circle. They expected to find the dossier and remove it. They found nothing. The agent on scene is a friend of the firm. The report reads, burglary, no leads, case open. Your name is not in it. 3. Your suspension from the university. Dean Park is my father's younger brother. He received an anonymous packet on Friday evening. He opened it Monday morning. By Monday afternoon, he had received a second packet, from me, containing the original photographs, the elevator timestamps, the metadata, and a signed affidavit from the building's head of security. Your suspension was reversed at 4:11 this afternoon. You will receive the formal letter by courier tomorrow at 9. Your final examinations have been rescheduled at your written request, which I took the liberty of drafting. You will sign it or not. Your choice. She breathes out. The breath fogs and goes. 4. Madison Sinclair. Ji-woo opens the briefcase on his lap. He takes out a single sheet, folded once. He hands it back without looking. She has a gambling problem. Online baccarat. The debt, as of this morning, was $2,100,000, owed to an operation in Macau that is a subsidiary of Chung Ryong-pa. They bought the debt 8 months ago. They have been steering her since. The spill in the lobby was scripted. The phone in her bag recorded audio. A second phone, in the bag of a woman seated near the window, a woman who paid in cash and tipped nothing, recorded video. The footage was uploaded to a server in Macau within 90 minutes. We acquired it on Wednesday. It has been deleted. The backup has been deleted. The technician who maintained the backup has been encouraged to take a long vacation. Madison confessed. Madison signed. There is a difference. She signed at 2 this morning, in the presence of her attorney and ours, in exchange for the debt being satisfied, and her name being kept out of the federal filings on Mr. Devlin, which will be unsealed in approximately 11 days. She will not see prison. She will see something quieter, a long quiet. She will lose the apartment. She will lose the cards. She will lose the followers. She will keep her teeth. Grace folds the paper without opening it. She slides it into her coat pocket. And Devlin. Mr. Devlin is at this moment in a conference room on the 38th floor with 3 lawyers and a representative from the Securities and Exchange Commission. He will not be coming back to his desk. His access was revoked at 5:42. Grace closes her eyes. The car ticks as it cools. 11 months, she says. Yes, he was watching me for 11 months. He was not watching. He was waiting. There is a difference. For what? For something to ask of you that would be worth what you would have to pay to say yes. He does not collect people, Miss Holloway. He recognizes them. There is a distinction. I have worked for him for 14 years, and I have seen him recognize 4. You are the 4th. The driver opens her door. The garage air is cold and tastes of concrete and exhaust. She steps out. Jiwoo stays in the car. He does not follow her to the elevator. He does not need to. She rides up alone. 47 floors. The numbers climb. Her reflection in the polished steel doors looks like a woman she has not met yet, but has been writing letters to for a long time. The doors open onto the executive floor. The lights are low. The cleaning crew has not come yet. The carpet swallows her steps. His office door is open 3 inches. She pushes it. He is standing at the window. Manhattan sprawls behind him, half lit, half rain. The graphite gray overcoat is folded over the back of his chair. The white shirt has been worn through a flight and looks it. The black tie is loosened a knuckle. The slicked back hair has lost a strand at the temple. The dragon on his neck is fully exposed above the open collar, scales catching the desk lamp like wet ink. He does not turn. Sit, he says. She does not sit. He turns. His face is the same face, the cold, analytical eyes, the sculpted jaw, but there is something at the edge of the mouth that was not there in the lobby on the day of the spill, that was not there in the elevator with the dossier, that was not there on any of the mornings she handed him his Americano with 3 ice cubes. Something is tired, something is glad. You did not pick up, she says. No. Twice. Twice. Why? He walks around the desk. He stops 2 steps from her, close enough that she can smell the long flight on him, jet fuel and the cheap cologne of an airport bathroom soap, and underneath that, the faint, clean trace of his own. Because if I had answered, I would have told you to run, and if I had told you to run, you would have run. And if you had run, the people who built the trap would have known the trap was sprung, and they would have buried the evidence in 12 hours. I needed 48. I bought it by being unreachable. The price of the 48 hours was 4 days of your life. I will not ask you to forgive that. I will ask you to understand it. My apartment. Replaced. Locks, door, frame, the window in the kitchen that did not close properly. A new building, if you want it. The lease on the old one is terminated without penalty. The deposit is back in your account as of this morning. I did not ask. I did. You can be angry about that later. My badge. Downstairs. Director of Operations and Compliance. The office is on this floor. 3 doors down. Ms. Bennett vacated it at 4. She is now Chief Compliance Officer of the holding company, which is the promotion she has wanted for 3 years, which she earned by writing the affidavit that saved your degree. She asked me to tell you the desk drawer on the left sticks and to pull up before pulling out. My degree? Your degree is your degree. I did not give it to you. You earned it before I knew your name. The university tried to take it. I returned it to you. There is a difference. She is quiet for a long time. The rain finds the window and runs down it in long fingers. 11 months, she says. 11 months. The wallet. The wallet had $8,400 in cash and a black card with no limit and the home address of my mother in Busan. You handed it back to me on the platform at 14th Street at 3:11 in the morning. You said, "You dropped this, sir." You did not look at the cash. You did not look at the card. You looked at me once to make sure my face matched the photograph on the license, and then you looked away because looking at men on platforms at 3 in the morning is not something a woman in your situation can afford to do. You got on the next train. I watched the train leave. I went home. I could not sleep. I had my people find out who you were. They came back in 9 hours with a file, a 3.94 grade point average, a mother on dialysis in Atlanta, a father who left in 2004, 2 jobs, no debt because you do not believe in debt. I read the file. I closed it. I put it in a drawer. I waited. For what? For a reason to open the drawer that was not me wanting to open the drawer. Madison was the reason. Madison was the excuse. The reason was already there. The reason walked across the lobby every morning at 5:47 and tied a coffee brown apron at her waist and memorized which sections of the Korean paper a stranger read. The reason had already named itself. I was waiting for the room to be loud enough that picking the reason up would not look like picking it up. The room got loud on its own. I picked it up. She has to put her hand on the back of the chair. The leather is cool and solid. She holds it for a moment, the way a person holds a railing on a boat. You did not save me, she says, quietly, into the chair. No, you recognized me. Yes. She looks up. The dragon on his neck moves with his swallow. He has not moved closer. He will not, she understands, until she tells him he may. The contract, she says. On the desk. 3 years. Equity vesting at month 18. A clause that lets you walk in 90 days with no penalty if you decide the price is too high. A second clause, on a separate page, that has nothing to do with the company. You can read both. You can sign one. You can sign neither. You can sign both. The first does not require the second. The second does not require the first. I drafted them in different rooms on different days so that no one, including me, could pretend they were the same document. She walks past him. She picks up the first page. She reads it. She picks up the second page. She reads it. The second page is 1 paragraph long. It is not a contract. It is a sentence. The sentence says, in plain English, that he would like, when she is ready, and only when she is ready, to take her to dinner at a restaurant of her choosing, on a night of her choosing, as a man takes a woman to dinner, and that nothing in the first document depends on her answer to this one, and that if her answer is no, he will not ask again, and that if her answer is yes, he will be at her door at the hour she names, and that this is the only time in his life he has written such a sentence on paper, and that he is aware of how that sounds, and that he means it anyway. She reads the sentence twice. She sets the page down. She picks up the pen. She signs the first page. She slides it to him without looking at him. She picks up the second page. She does not sign it. She folds it once. She slides it into the inside pocket of her coat, against her ribs, where the tuition bill used to live. Not tonight, she says. No. Soon. Whenever. She walks to the door. She stops with her hand on the frame. She does not turn around. The window behind him holds the whole city and the rain. Mr. CO. Yes. The coffee tomorrow. 5:47. Americano. 3 ice cubes. I will be there. I will not be the one making it. I know. Mr. Ward will. He has been promoted. He starts Monday. He runs the floor now. I told him an hour ago, in my head, on the elevator coming up. I will tell him in person tomorrow. He will pretend to be surprised. He will not be. Good. Good night. Good night, Miss Holloway. She walks out. The carpet swallows her steps again. The elevator opens for her without being called. In the hallway, she passes the door 3 down from his. The brass plate has already been changed. Her name is on it, Holloway, Director, Operations and Compliance. The font is the same font as his. The brass is the same brass. Someone, today, while she was sitting in her apartment looking at a phone that did not ring, climbed a ladder in this hallway with a small screwdriver and put her name on a door. She touches the plate with 2 fingers. It is warm from the lights. She lets it go. The desk inside is bare. A single white envelope sits on the blotter. Her name is written across it in his hand. She does not open it. She slides it into the inner pocket of her coat, next to the folded sentence. The 2 pages press against her ribs in different temperatures, the contract cold from the desk, the sentence already warm from her body. She closes the office door. She does not lock it. There is nothing in there yet to protect, and the people who would have come for it are not coming anymore. On the way down, she does not look at her reflection. She does not need to. The woman in the steel is already walking ahead of her, 3 floors below, 6 months ahead, holding a door open in a room she has not yet entered, waiting for her to catch up.
If the story stayed with you even after the screen went dark, know this, it doesn't end here. Our private community is the extension of this channel. Every story ad-free. No interruptions. No breaks in the atmosphere. Bonus scenes and extra chapters the public version doesn't show. And for the inner circle, one of our 3 tiers, 1 brand new exclusive full-length story every month. Plus the sensual chapters reserved only for the chair you're sitting in. 3 doors in. Scan the QR code on your screen. Tap the link in the pinned comment, or follow the link in the description below. Your name belongs on the next page.
If this story moved you, stop for a moment and reflect. Have you ever stood behind a counter, in a uniform somebody decided was beneath them, while the world poured itself down the front of your shirt and called it your fault? Did you keep your hands steady, your handwriting clean, your dignity tucked behind a thin gold chain no camera could see, even when no one in that marble lobby seemed to be watching? And when the moment finally turned, did you understand that the right person had been watching the whole time, 11 months long, because what they recognized in you was never weakness, it was the one thing that could not be bought? Tell us your experiences and feelings in the comments. We read them all. And if you believe in stories about dignity, recognition, and earned ascension, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a part of our community and help the channel.